It all started on a quiet morning, one of those days when the air feels heavy with memories. Reba McEntire, sitting comfortably in her living room, reflected on a conversation she had recently with her dear friend Kelly Clarkson. The topic was heavy, almost unbearable, yet it was one that needed to be shared. Kelly's children, still so young, were navigating the world without their dad, and Reba had been there to witness their quiet strength and courage. She remembered the first time she saw them after the loss, their eyes carrying a mix of sadness and curiosity, trying to understand something far bigger than themselves. Even in that grief, there was a light that refused to go out. Kelly had been doing her best to support her children while managing the demands of her career, often juggling interviews, rehearsals, and recordings alongside the emotional needs of her family. Reba watched closely and noticed how Kelly created a gentle, comforting environment at home where the children could express themselves freely. Some days, the kids were quiet, sitting together on the couch, holding their father's photo, or flipping through old drawings he had made with them. On other days, their grief showed up in small ways: a sudden tear, a question about what it means to lose someone, or a hesitant attempt to recreate a memory with their dad. Reba saw how these moments of vulnerability were met with patience. Kelly encouraged conversations about their dad, asking them to share memories, no matter how small, and validating their feelings of sadness, confusion, or even guilt. She also allowed them to find comfort in routines, bedtime stories, drawing sessions, or baking together, which gave the children a sense of stability amid emotional turbulence. Reba noted how important it was that these moments weren't rushed or forced. The kids were learning that grief could coexist with love, playfulness, and hope. In addition to Kelly's support, Reba herself sometimes offered quiet guidance, sharing gentle words about resilience and the ways families can honor lost loved ones. She reminded the children that it was okay to laugh, to have fun, and to continue discovering joy, even as they remembered their dad. Through these small, everyday acts, listening, sharing, laughing, and remembering, the family was slowly finding ways to cope, proving that healing doesn't mean forgetting, and that love can continue to guide and comfort even in someone's absence. The father, Brandon in this story, had been a kind and patient presence in their lives, always making time for laughter and learning, guiding them in ways small but meaningful. Reba spoke about how these children, in their own tender ways, were keeping his memory alive. One of them had started drawing little sketches of moments they shared, another hummed songs that their dad used to sing, and every now and then, they would share quiet stories of him around the dinner table, hesitant yet proud. It was clear that even in sorrow, they were learning the subtle art of resilience, a lesson their father had unknowingly left behind. Kelly had been doing her best to support her children while balancing the demands of her career, and Reba watched with admiration as she navigated each day with patience and love. The children were grieving in their own ways, sometimes through quiet moments of reflection, sometimes through sudden bursts of laughter that reminded everyone life still carried on. Reba noticed how the family created small rituals to honor Brandon's memory, drawing pictures, singing songs he loved, or sharing stories around the dinner table. These simple acts helped the children process their feelings without forcing them to confront emotions too big for their age. Kelly encouraged them to talk about their dad openly, letting them express sadness, confusion, or even joy in remembering him. Through it all, Reba realized that coping with loss wasn't about erasing grief, but about learning to live with it, finding ways to carry the love forward while gently supporting one another. Brandon, the father in this story, had been a gentle, caring presence in the lives of his children. He wasn't just a dad who provided for them. He was someone who made time for little moments, teaching them lessons through everyday life. Reba remembered hearing stories from Kelly about the quiet ways he encouraged curiosity and kindness, from reading bedtime stories with exaggerated voices to cheering the loudest at their little accomplishments. The children, each with their own unique personality, felt the depth of his love in ways that words could barely capture. One of them was shy and thoughtful, often drawing pictures that reflected moments they had shared with him, while another was outgoing and lively, humming songs their dad used to sing. Even in his absence, the children carried pieces of him, little habits, favorite sayings, and memories that appeared unexpectedly in smiles, laughter, in tears. These glimpses of their father's presence made Reba realize how deeply love and guidance can leave a mark, even when someone is gone. Even in the midst of their grief, there were moments that brought warmth and hope. Reba remembered one afternoon when the children, inspired by their father's kindness, decided to help a neighbor carry groceries, their small act reflecting lessons Brandon had quietly taught them. On another day, they created a little memorial in their backyard, planting flowers and sharing stories about their dad, laughing softly at memories that felt both sad and joyful. Reba couldn't help but smile at the way these little acts showed their resilience. Grief had not dimmed their hearts. It had made them more compassionate, more aware of the love that surrounds them. These moments, though simple, were profound. They showed that even in sorrow, children could find ways to honor love, to carry forward the values their father had instilled, and to remind those around them that life still held small, beautiful moments worth cherishing. As Reba reflected on everything she had witnessed, her voice carried a gentle authority shaped by experience and empathy. She spoke about the delicate balance of supporting children through loss, how important it was to listen without judgment, to allow them to express every emotion, and to reassure them that grief is a natural part of love. Reba emphasized that memories should be celebrated rather than feared, encouraging children to talk about the person they lost, share stories, or continue small traditions that kept that person's presence alive in their hearts. She spoke about the power of everyday acts, drawing, singing, helping others, or planting a flower in memory, as ways for children to feel connected and to process their emotions in a safe, nurturing environment. Reba also noted the importance of adults modeling resilience. By showing that it was okay to cry, to laugh, and to remember, parents like Kelly could teach children that grief was not something to hide, but something to honor. She highlighted that small gestures, like leaving a note for their dad, looking at old photos together, or even quietly lighting a candle, could make a tremendous difference in a child's healing process. Above all, Reba's advice carried hope that love continues beyond loss, that family bonds grow stronger through shared support, and that children, even in the hardest moments, can discover courage, compassion, and the ability to find joy again. By the end of her reflection, Reba's thoughts painted a picture of quiet strength, love, and hope. She spoke of Kelly's children, who, despite their loss, were still finding moments of laughter, curiosity, and joy in everyday life. There were scenes of small victories, a drawing that captured a happy memory, a song hummed in the kitchen, or a gentle act of kindness toward a friend. All reminders that life, even after loss, carries beauty. Reba reflected on how children teach adults about resilience, showing that grief can coexist with hope, that sadness can be tempered by love, and that even in the hardest moments, families can find ways to heal together. The story closed on a tender note. The family sitting together, sharing stories and smiles, their bond unbroken by absence, strengthened instead by the memory of love they had shared. Reba's words lingered, a reminder to the audience that loss does not erase love, that grief is a journey, and that through patience, compassion, and togetherness, families can find light in the darkest of times. The narrative left viewers with a sense of emotional closure, hope, and inspiration, showing that even amid heartbreak, the human spirit is capable of extraordinary resilience and unwavering love. By the end of her reflection, Reba's thoughts painted a vivid picture of quiet strength, love, and hope that resonated deeply. She described Kelly's children, who, despite facing the unimaginable absence of their father, were gradually discovering small pockets of joy and comfort in their daily lives. There were moments like the shyest child pausing to hum a tune their dad used to sing, the other helping a friend in need as if carrying forward his lessons, and the family coming together around the kitchen table, sharing memories that made them laugh and sometimes cry softly. Each tiny victory, each small act of remembrance, was a testament to the resilience that lived within their hearts and the unbreakable bonds that grief could never sever. Reba reflected on how these moments showed that life does not stop with loss. Instead, it creates opportunities for love and connection to be expressed in new, meaningful ways. The children, through their laughter, curiosity, and thoughtful gestures, reminded everyone around them, including Reba herself, that the human spirit can carry both sorrow and joy simultaneously. She spoke about how every shared story, every tender smile,